Okay, Thursday, 11th of July, 2024. So how AI, how ChatGPT will affect human evolution, how it will affect the generations to come, how it will affect, you could in some ways say society, yeah, but how it's going to affect us on an individual basis, on a mental basis, how it's going to change us. This is something I was gently thinking about here and there, and I keep coming to the same conclusion. Now, there's an amazing YouTube channel out there called the Jolly Heretic, and he did an amazing video, I can't really find it now, about certain skills, certain survival skills at one point are over time forgotten about. And in this video he was talking about how people in the UK, I presume, were lamenting in the 1800s that the glass blowing skills were forgotten about. And the premise was that any skill that's not necessary for survival, day-to-day life or in society, whatever else, is forgotten about, discarded. Makes sense. Path of least resistance. Things that are not going to be used are forgotten about. Fair enough. So on that premise, on that principle, I was thinking, well, how does ChatGPT, for example, affect us? We're being less creative in one way, but also at the same time, we're being extra creative over here. The dot connecting creativity is really enhancing the ability to be curious and creative, thinking about those prompts, what to ask, what to say, whatever else. But at the same time, the creativity of the original creativity risks being diminished. But I think if handled correctly, it could be really augmented and improved, but that requires a bit of discipline. Now, the idea is, and the conclusion I keep coming to is going to improve our dot connecting ability in terms of creativity, meaning I've got this idea and I want this idea and that idea, creating ideas, and then also articulating it correctly in terms of the prompt, so communication skills as well, to get the exact desired result, the exact thing you want, the answer you want, or for it to understand what you want exactly. Fair enough. So I imagine that the dot connecting creativity will increase. I don't know what to call this medically or psychologically, but that creativity will increase, and communication skills will increase as well, and getting what we want. But at the same time, I think the creativity to do stuff will suffer. Now, again, I said with discipline. So what I imagine is I could create, for example, different prompts to say, give me the premise of different stories using hero's journey or whatever else, inverting it and adding this, adding that, tweaking this, tweaking that, and here's the ending I want, or here's the thing I don't want, whatever else. Dot connecting, being able to be more precise and refined in creativity, but then write the story for me, the fiction, the short story, whatever. Okay, here it is, and then you do the editing. Fair enough. But I think that where it comes, the discipline is, you might say, I'm going to use AI to a certain point so it doesn't have a detrimental effect on me in terms of affecting other skills or the survival skills. In this case, it's, say, writing, the ability to communicate written word. I think that's a big thing that's going to change a lot, the ability to be creative, because without a doubt, and I did some videos on this in the past about AI, it is allowing us to think 1,000 times faster. So the ability to think will suffer, also be enhanced. Suffer because we're outsourcing our thinking, but at the same time we need to think harder to get the exact answer we want. Otherwise, you're going to search for it ourselves, Google, encyclopedias, you name it. That's the conclusion I keep coming to, where we're going to slowly, in one way, be less creative, but at the same time more creative, a different kind of creativity. That's quite powerful, because as I said, it allows us to think 1,000 times faster. If I have a concept, an idea, or a preposition, I can write it down before I forget and ask it to ChatGPT, and then it gives me an answer. And then thinking, well, how else can I expand upon that? Apart from asking it itself, what else can we do? How else can we expand to create more options? Because either way, it's going to do 1,000 times thinking for us. It's just how detailed can you ask, or can I ask it a question to get an even better answer, to get even more refined or more unique of an answer? That's powerful. And that's, I think, and the conclusion I keep coming to, how it's going to affect human evolution, because we're going to be more creative and less creative. Now, other ways in it, I think it's going to foster a lot of curiosity as well, in a sense of, how do I do X, how do I do Y? Whenever I get an idea or concept or anything of the sort, how does this work? How does that work? How does distribution of this? What does this concept mean in finance, or this concept in whatever else? I ask it straight away. And then I say, well, explain it to me like I'm 20 years old. Explain it to me like I'm 10 years old. That's the communication skills kicking in, where I understand what you're saying, kind of, but I want make it simpler for me, okay? Simpler. So I understand the principles, the core concepts straight away. And I find also that if there's any burning questions, anything I want to know, within reason, I can just ask it. I was curious about the etiquette in a certain country, how certain things work, and it didn't quite give me the answer I wanted, or didn't quite answer the question. So then you could say, well, that's my inability to communicate needs to improve. Fair enough. But that I think, as I said before in some previous videos, we can become the demon. As I've said, where we can learn so much about the world, fostered by our creativity, curiosity. We can learn more about how the world works. Biology, chemistry, physics, science, maths, computer science, everything, you name it. Ask the computer, ask AI, you get an answer. And then the more you learn through that, through the AI, the better you can predict the future. Predict the future in the sense of you know what's going to happen. You know how people would react. You know what could happen if X or Y or Z. That's powerful. So even that, in that regard, actually, that itself is a bit of human evolution, because then we are becoming smarter, higher IQ, higher EQ, you name it, because we're able then to connect better with people. Better to understand. We can better understand the world, better understand how things work, what happens, and then we can predict the future. We can act accordingly so as to make fewer mistakes. How cool is that? It's quite powerful. And even that, who knows where that, if we take the law of unintended consequences, all these things that I've mentioned, there will be other second and third order consequences out there that I have not even enumerated or even thought about already. That will be commonplace, will be common, will be normal, will be the day-to-day thing 5, 10, 15, 30 years from now. So the principle here is, it is going to affect human evolution. It's going to affect how we behave, how we interact with society, how we think, how we build businesses, how we do amazing things. As I said before in a previous video, it's arguably a gift from God, because it allows us to do amazing things 1,000 times faster. Case in point, the business that I'm using it to build would have been a lot harder here to build without AI. Now that's good and bad, because it means I can do things faster, which is priceless, which is time, but at the same time the creativity muscle is not going to be as strong. Whereas if I'm using my mind, my creativity, it's going to be stronger, but brute forcing it, but it's a lot slower. But it swings and roundabouts, good and bad points. More enhanced creativity, but at the same time we sacrifice that for the sake of speed. So it depends what your priorities are. Because other thing to consider is that I think that you won't be replaced by AI exactly. You'll be replaced by those people who use AI. You'll be replaced by those who understand the technology, understand the potential, and what it's all about. That I think is the interesting thing. So it's worth understanding this technology now and getting ahead of the curve, so to speak. Otherwise, you risk getting left behind. Fair enough. Yes, those are the main points. Yeah. But otherwise, then, you will see me tomorrow.